Hey everyone, I'm Selena Hill, and welcome to another episode of The New Norm on Black Enterprise, sponsored by Cadillac. Today I'll be speaking with luxury shoe designer Jessica Rich about the growth and popularity of her Epitomous shoe collection. Since its launch in 2017, Jessica has made history as the first Black woman to sell a shoe collection in Nordstrom and one of the first Black shoe designers to be sold in Bloomingdale's. Now, a number of notable celebrities, including Kim and Kourtney Kardashian, Jennifer Lopez, Megan Fox, Cardi B, and Toni Braxton, have worn her shoes, making Jessica the Hollywood go-to girl for sexy stilettos. Jessica, thank you so much for joining us here on Black Enterprise today.
Thank you so much for having me. Such a great introduction. I'm like, wow, did I do all that
Absolutely. So, before
stuff?
you launch the Jessica Rich shoe collection, you were perhaps best known as a reality TV star on VH1's Real Chance of Love back in 2008. You also worked as an actress, host, red carpet correspondent, PR professional, and real estate agent. When and why did you decide to become a fashion designer?
It's one of those things where it's like I've always been always hands on a lot of things, and I feel like after the reality show, and then getting that 15 minutes of fame, it was such a high for me that I was like, okay, the jobs you named prior to that, like the real estate, those things were all before the reality show. But once the reality show hit, I knew that I wanted to be known on a big scale, like doing something. I didn't know what that was yet, but I knew I wanted to move to Los Angeles at the time to figure it out. Excuse me, and figure it out. So I moved here and I left New York. I'm from Michigan, but I lived in New York for like 4 years, just trying to model and just get my networking going and all that kind of stuff. And I knew I wanted to just be Jessica Rich, and I didn't know how to just get paid for it and wake up and get paid for it. I was like, okay, what do I do to do that? And my initial goal was to be a host. Like I wanted to be like Lala Anthony. I wanted to be on MTV and just introduce people. I'm like, oh god, show up and be, just be myself because I knew I had a big personality, and that's why I casted the reality show. And I fell into fashion because, I had Instagram, and Instagram was that new thing when you were like, oh my god, like how can we sell something to your fans and stuff like that. So I basically decided to start a jewelry company, like costume jewelry. And it's funny because I wore one of my grandma's pieces that she gave me, and it just reminded me today that I actually started in jewelry, selling things like this. And I was just trying to make money from Instagram with my following at the time, and that's what gave me the idea just to get into fashion of some sort.
So, yeah, you are definitely a woman of many trades and many talents, a hustler of all sorts, I would say. Hindsight being 2020, did you think that a shoe collection would be your claim to fame? The big moment, that's what really turned you into this breakout star.
No, I never thought, like, I just it was jewelry, and jewelry worked out for maybe like 6 months, and I was like, you know what, I'm not really making that much money of it off of it. I was selling it for like $50, $60 because it wasn't obviously real, and then my profit was like $40, $50. I'm like, I have so many expenses, this is not going to pay my bills. So how can I make more profit? And then I fell into PR and marketing because people would realize that I was around a lot of key people, a lot of celebrities, and they'd ask me to like give their product to my friends, and I'm like, that's almost like a publicist. I'm like, am I low key a publicist? Like, and I kind of just said, you know what, this is a cool business. I should make this official. So I kind of started my own PR company called Who You Know PR. And I was charging people for retainers to really just literally hand things off to different people. I said, I can't guarantee they'll wear it, but I'll definitely get it in their hands. And after a while, the brands would just blow up, and I saw sales coming through, and I'm like, wow, my contacts are very powerful. They're actually supporting whatever I give them. And that's when the idea came to me to just go ahead and give them my product versus someone else's, because I was so tired of like losing the contract. You know how you have a PR and like it's like 6 months and they don't have to stay with you. And for me, that was just inconsistent with my life. I'm like, I can't have money for bills one day and one not. I just like, what can I do to really make this like consistent? And that's when I started my online store of just clothing, and the clothing transitioned into shoes 2 years later. So that's kind of what happened.
Wow, no, that's a fascinating journey, Jessica. It seems like things sort of fell into place because you were really good, like you said, when it comes to media and even PR. I didn't know you had your own PR company as well, and
Yeah.
that sort of like, uh, you know, gave you the idea that you should be selling your own product.
Yeah, my celeb friends were like, Jessica, can you just give us one of your outfits? And I'm like, I don't have anything. And I knew I could have done my own like line, but I was so focused on trying to be a host and be on TV and just like continue that rise of the whole reality show thing. I was like, God was showing me what I was really good at, which was the connections and making the dots, you know? So I had to really sit back and, you know what, let me just turn this into something else. And that's what I did. And the clothing was great. But I think when Fashion Nova came out, it really killed my sales because I had a lot of celebrities wearing my clothing, like J Lo, all these people wearing my stuff, but then I wasn't designing anything, so my press was like J Lo wearing the dress from Jessica Rich collection, but it wasn't my actual design, and that's when I knew I had to start designing my own stuff because other boutiques had the same dress, so then it wasn't like making me feel special anymore. You know what I mean? And then Fashion Nova came out, and then the cheap prices were like $50, and I was like, okay, my stuff's like 175, 200. I can't compete with those prices. And that's kind of when I thought of a different idea. And that's when the shoes came about. I was like, you know what? No one's really in the shoe space right now. No one's in a cheap shoe space that's still luxe. Let me create that. Let me create that for me.
I love it. And speaking of the shoe you designed, it's the Cinderella PVC pump that really catapulted your career into the next level when it comes
Yeah.
to fashion design. What made Transparent by Jessica Rich so successful?
It was that shoe is like the epitome of my life. Like I love that shoe to this day. It's my baby. It took me, wearing the Soke Louboutin so much in every color that I had. And I was so obsessed with that silhouette. And one day I was like, you know what? If I made that clear, that would be such a cool idea because I was so tired of having to like mix up the colors and things like that. And I met Christian Louboutin. I actually won an award with him like a couple months ago in New York, and I told him I was like, "You're the inspiration behind my PVC pump," and he's like, "That's so amazing." He's like, "I'm glad that it worked out for you. It's an amazing that you were able to get this far with your brand in 5 years." And I'm like, "Yeah, that silhouette was amazing. I feel like having clear toe, like clear PVC, going with anything, you don't need to think about it. You didn't have to think about what you're wearing with it, and that's what made it so successful so fast."
That's why I love them too. So, was that your first shoe that you ever designed?
Yes, first shoe. Yeah.
Did you draw it out or did you have to contract someone to create this for you?
No, it's so funny how I did this. I was already in the clothing business. I already knew how to find shoe factories. So what I did was I basically found a factory that was able to make replica Christian Louboutin shoes that I found on like on these random sites. You know how you Google stuff, there's like random sites with factories and things like that. So they were making replica shoes. And I'm like, they can get the silhouette down. So I'm like, let me just make this PVC. And they understood what I was trying to do. And the sample came back and it was perfect, honestly. It was the best arch. Everything was perfect. The first sample came back and I sent it to all my friends and they were like, Jessica, I need that shoe. And I'm like, I don't have it. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I only have one. And they're like, no way. How do we get it? I was like, if you post a picture of the one shoe that I do have to your followers, I'll just give you a pair when they come in. And that's what happened.
I love how you made your network work for you because I feel like a lot of times we all have resources and access. We're all like 6 degrees of separation from everyone, but we don't really take advantage of the people that we know and the resources. It takes that aha moment for you to realize, like, hey, I know a lot of people, they support me. Everyone has people that, they love that are in their lives. What
Yeah.
can I do to use this to my advantage?
Yes. That's your network is your biggest. My network is my biggest. I wouldn't even say it's like the business, of course, I'm very smart and I know what I'm doing and I know exactly what girls want. But at the same time, it's my network as well because they're the ones who really support the business and put it to their followers, and it allows me to be exposed to more customers across the world.
Absolutely. So I read, Jessica, when you started your business, you were releasing one shoe per month and
Yes,
intentionally leaving customers wanting and waiting for more. Now, I believe you design about every 3 months. So I wanted to
yes.
ask, how are you able to keep up with the growing demand for your shoes?
Honestly, since I've been in retail stores, it's been a different process in general. Sometimes I'm like, it's been great expanding to retail stores, very important. But at the same time, my online customers were so used to seeing one shoe a month. Now they're seeing two or three shoes a month now because I'm designing every 3 months lots of shoes for retail stores. So sometimes I'm like, do I go back to the old way, keeping people, waiting on edge, or do I continue the way it's going? And what I've come up with is I'm going to start doing drops on my online. It's separate from my retail store, so therefore it's a different variety for everyone.
Amazing. So, like, did you have to hire more people when you started to scale and grow, or did you just like dedicate more hours to the brand? Like, how did you keep up with that?
It's been such a growing experience. When I first did this, I did my own store for 2 years with no one. Like I literally I had one girl working with me, but she handled customer service, a lot of back end things like that. And yeah, it's been an expansion with like having a sales team. Like all of my retail contacts came to me. Like Nordstrom's came to me, Bloomingdale's came to me, DSW. I was very lucky to not have to go outreach for stores. But the internal has grown a lot. Yes, like way more people on staff now. It's definitely like a more smooth operation because when they come knocking, it's like you have to have everything in order. There's no error. You have to really fight and make sure your staff is pretty tight for sure.
Amazing. And when you started, you were talking about the costume jewelry line that you had. You also had a clothes store and boutique, online boutique that you talked about. How did those work out? Like, are they still in existence? And what lessons in business did you learn from each of those?
For the clothing,
Yes.
so I actually was holding on to the clothing. So I had still had clothing, and then I did the shoes. And I was since I only had one or two, like one shoe a month, I didn't really let go of the clothing yet. And then when the shoes really took off, I'm like, you know what, God, I think it's okay to let go of the clothes now because my real hit has been the shoes. Clothing was successful, but I feel like I need to focus on one thing to really blow this up. And that's what made me really just go ahead and let go of the clothes. And then it was kind of scary because I'm like, you lose that second revenue stream and you're like, okay, am I going to really survive off the shoes? But I've sold so many shoes, like millions of shoes, and it's been like, it's insane. It's really, really insane how I thought the small dream has become such a big, big thing. And now I'm doing collaborations with Steve Madden that comes out in 6 months. I haven't even really announced this to the world yet. People know my story, but not official press release. But Steve reached out to Nordstrom's about me and asked who I was, and he wanted to meet with me. And I was like, no way, he wants to meet with me? Like, wow. And I sat down with him, and we were very similar. Like, we're very similar in personalities. We're very, like, all over the place as far as, like, our minds are just, like I'm like, we have the same synergy. So it really made sense. So now it's a whole collection that we're doing. Yeah.
No, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. Jessica, to have Steve Madden, you said reach out to you to do a
Yeah.
partnership.
Yeah. It's crazy, right? I know. It's
So
insane.
did you guys design shoes together?
Yes, so I finished the entire collection in New York like maybe 6 weeks ago. I was there last week to confirm all the samples, and now we're gonna, have a call tomorrow about the photo shoot, the launch, and everything. And it comes out in August in all of his stores and all the .com, as well as retail stores too. So we'll be over like 100 stores across the U.S.
Amazing. And speaking of retail stores, as I mentioned, you're in Nordstrom, you're in Bloomingdale's, but I wanted to ask, like, did you have any challenges when it came to getting your shoes in those iconic retailers?
Since they reached out to me, I didn't have too much challenge. But the challenge I would say that we did do is we expanded so fast into retail stores that internally we weren't 100% prepared for it. So there was a lot of delays, such as shipping delays. We had our first shipment to Nordstrom was like 2 months late because we were not like we didn't even know how to even like facilitate that large of an order internally and make sure that everything shipped on time. We weren't like we didn't have all our ducks in a row. So that was a big stress for us. It's definitely ironed out now, but I think it's if you don't know how to like launch in a store, it's very nerve wracking unless you have someone step by step teaching you what to do. So that's something we had to definitely filter through. And now it's an oil machine. Now we have a distribution center. I have a huge warehouse here in LA. We no longer ship ourselves. We have someone else that does everything for us. So it's definitely a lot better now. I mean, it's like one of those things. It's like sometimes you say I wasn't ready, and then when you actually go through it, you're like, okay, well, in order for us to be ready, you have to actually get the experience by trial and error. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you mentioned that because I feel like a lot of small businesses face those same issues when it comes to scaling. Like if
Yeah,
if you partner with Walmart or Target, and they love the brand, are you really ready
yeah,
for the next level of issues and challenges that come
yeah.
with that? And it sounds like you just had to grow through those growing pains.
Yes, we had to go through it, and I'm like, okay, God, this is amazing. I'm so excited, but wow, we also have all these other issues that we had to fix to scale, and it's people always say it's good problems to have, and it's not been that bad, but it's definitely like, whoa, you have to really know, and you'll never know unless you try. So I'm so thankful for all experiences. Everything has made us stronger, and I've never felt more confident about my business now than sorry, I've never felt more confident than now in my business. That's 5 years in now, and I feel so good about the future.
5 years in, how many brick and mortar stores do you have?
Well, I had one on Melrose in 17. That was my first one on Melrose, and then after that, the Beverly Center called me and they wanted me in the mall because they said they had some empty spaces. And when they called me, I was like, oh my God, I actually was kind of over at Melrose. The demographic there changed a lot, especially that was in the COVID year, 2020. It was like November 2020. And they're like, yeah, we want you to check out this store that we think will be great for you. And I go over there and they're like, yeah, we want you to have this one. And I'm like, you want me to have the Giuseppe Zanotti store? Are you serious? He had just moved out. He closed all of his US stores. And I'm like, in between Tiffany's and YSL next to Gucci and Prada. Are you serious right now? And I literally was like crying. I'm like, I'll take it. And I'm opening my first store between all these high rates retailers. And it was like such an amazing, incredible experience. And I was there for a while. My lease was up in December. But we're so big right now. We're like 75% retail now versus before when I was 75% online that we don't even have the bandwidth to even focus on stores now. It's basically retail that we're most like excited about. So we just have a showroom now that I have, and it's been great. It's less stressful. It's way better as far as like internally. We grew our business on influencers and celebrities, and I feel like having the store really sidetracked us a little bit because that was an extra stress that was never really needed. It was more for marketing. It was more for exposure. It's more celebs come in and like need a place to come get some shoes. But I've created a great showroom here that gives that same vibe, and we actually are able to do more work. So I love that about what's happening now.
Yeah, no, and as I mentioned, I've been to the showroom. It looks amazing.
Thank
It's
you.
so signature. Like one of the things I think you've been great at through this entire process is really documenting and capitalizing on each moment. Why was it so important for you to, make sure that you're getting press, make sure you're doing interviews, and just making sure that you keep your brand out there? Because I feel like a lot of business owners are really good at business and sometimes do not invest in like the PR that's so necessary to grow.
It's one of those things where it's like I know when I look back now and I'm like, it still awes me. Like I have a wall here of all these slides. It still awes me and I get emotional how far I've come. But I look back and the reason why I got this far is because of the press and because of the celebs and because of the constant. I'm so obsessed with like staying where I'm at that I won't let it fall. You know what I mean? And I know that's what really had the eyes on me because of that reason. Like, okay, who's this girl again? And like, what shoes are these again? Like, it's Jessica Rich. It's Jessica Rich, and that's what really had the retailers contact me. Like, we've seen you, we've heard about you over the web. Like, we've seen you in multiple interviews, and you're a black woman. And people didn't even know I was black for so long. I mean, when I got on the phone, they're like, they didn't even know how. Like, I talk very like, professional, but they didn't even know I'm black sometimes. And I'm like, yeah, I'm black. I'm so black.
I love it, Jessica. I love that we talked about the offers that came to you. You're on a number of covers. Like I said, you've been getting press, your name's been circulating. But what are some of the challenges? What are some of the things that we don't see when it comes to like the grit that comes before the glam? Because when we see you, like you always look good, great energy, Instagram looks for everything. We see all these pieces that are in place. But what is it that we don't see?
Man, I have a reality show coming out very, very soon to show you these grits. I literally have been. It's funny. My stress now, it's not even considered stress. I carry stress so well now. It's just kind of like, I don't call it stress. I call it just running a business, being a CEO. Would I rather be stressed out because someone's not paying me the salary I deserve, or would I rather have my own company and deal with what it takes to have your own company? And it's just what it is. It's more so like shipping delays. I mean, we used to have so many shipping delays that cost us so many can't tell you how many thousands of dollars I had to refund customers. The first 2 years of my business, I was on pre-order because I was growing so fast. I didn't even have enough capital to really, really put in place the stuff that I really needed to stay in stock. So that was a big detriment to my business. I remember the first 2 years. We're finally next day shipping. I had to really make the executive decision to shut down my website for 3 months and only show what we really had in place. And if they didn't have it, I had to just say no because I was so tired of customers being like, oh my God, where's my order? It's been 2 months. It's still not here. And I was getting these bad reviews. And I was like, okay, Jessica, it's about the customer now. Let's be professional. Let's close the site down. Let's actually order it in advance. And at that point, I was actually able to fund enough stock to keep me in stock for 3 months. I'm self-funded. I'm still self-funded. I never had an investor, never had anyone do any, like nothing. It's been completely 100% me. So that's also frustrating sometimes. You're like, okay, where are the investors who actually want to capitalize? But now that we're in retail stores, we've been really good with sales and everything. But that was a big business decision I had to make, you know?
So, are you looking for investors, or is
Yeah, definitely good for investors. Investors right now would be mainly for marketing. Like, I'm someone who's always been very safe with my money, and I don't like to like. I've never paid a celebrity wear my product. I've never paid any influencers wear my product. It's just it speaks for itself. But I'd love to see a big marketing campaign, like billboards everywhere, like just spend 100K for to see if it comes back on stuff like that. You know what I mean? But never like
mm.
my own. I'm scared. I don't know. Do billboards even work anymore? Do they even like? You never even know if those kind of things work. We're such in an Instagram, social media world now, so I feel like all my sales are 75% Instagram. When the sales come through, we see where it comes from. It's usually like a .com, like a blog, an L, a Vogue, something we've been written in, or it's Instagram. So people don't even read magazines anymore. You know what I mean?
But to your point about the struggle for funding, it's been well documented how hard it is, particularly for Black women business owners, to get investors and to get funding, even when they know what they're doing and they have the receipts to prove it.
Yeah.
It's just a ceiling that I think a lot of us have to face, and I can only imagine how hard it is for you being in fashion. Do you think the industry itself is still very challenging for Black women to enter?
Definitely so. 1000%. I mean, I feel it's one of those things where it's accepted and it's great. And I think, the world has definitely changed into, okay, it's women founded, Black owned, and that kind of thing. But like my frustration also is how long will that last? Will that be forever? Is it for now? Are we going to see it fade in 5 years? I'm really hoping that it stays because, quite frankly, we are the culture. I set trends and we always have. So I feel as though we need to really continue that journey. It's very important for us. And I think it's great for the customer as well. A lot of African American women who wear my shoes are excited to wear them because I'm Black owned. So it's just one of those things that I think we should definitely continue. It's so important. And I support all businesses, white, Mexican, anything. I support everyone. So it's important to have diversity.
What can what would you say the fashion industry needs to do better to be more supportive of you and other designers that look like you?
Um, you know, it's funny. I just had a call with Macy's. I'm not in Macy's right now, but I had a call with Macy's last week, and the head of Macy's is like, whatever we can do to like anything you need, like in the shoe world, like because they know I'm like a business, but I'm very successful. But I'm also there's a lot of people I don't know, so just having people introduce you to people and try to make contacts that they think you may need. It's being an open book is great. So it's like even with investors, I don't even know where to find them. Like people are like, why don't you have them? I don't even do I just tweet? I'm looking for investors. Like I don't know. It's not like a Rolodex you just look up. I do have some very successful friends and celebrity friends who are interested also in maybe investing, but it's one of those things where it's like my mom taught me at a young age, don't ask anyone for anything. So it's one of those things I'm just like I don't know. It still takes a lot for me to ask for things because I'm so self me. But at some point, everyone needs funding. So
Yeah, and that's a whole different beast.
yeah,
Whole
for
different
sure.
animal once you get into that. So I know you do have to run, but before we let you go, I know you mentioned you have a reality show coming out. Is there anything that you can share? And I wanted to ask, like, when you started your journey as an actress and a host, do you still aspire to, be an on-air talent and to be like
Yeah.
a Hollywood star?
Yes. Well, for acting, I think it'd be something that I definitely want to do right now, but I would love to still do it. I feel as though life is short, and I feel like I definitely want to capitalize on everything I've ever dreamed of doing. For hosting, yes, I definitely want to go on the still fashion segment. I was actually interviewed on a fashion segment. It was called What the Fashion with a couple of years ago, and I was like, wow, I used to want to be the host, but now I'm being interviewed for what I've done. So yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to have a segment even on The View or like yeah, that's something I definitely want to still do.
Amazing,
Yeah,
Jessica. Your story has been so inspirational. It feels
thank
like you
you.
lived many lives in
Thank,
your
I
short
do.
life.
I really do. I really do. No, the reality show right now, yeah, it's definitely like Life in the Fab Lane. Kamora Lee Simmons and my whole thing is like her show. Followed her business, same premise as that. the day to day. You know, I'm single right now. Recently got broken up with my boyfriend. Like there's like so many things people don't know in my personal life that go on that I think is very important to show. It's not always the perfect part, and that's what I want to let the world know. It's like no matter what you have going on, you can still run a business and not have drama like cat and mouse fights on reality TV. That's not the example we want to set for our children, you know. So I definitely wanted to create something like that. And it's also my other successful friends who have businesses who you guys would probably know the faces of as well, who are also on the show. So stay tuned for more information on that as well.
Amazing, Jessica.
Yeah.
Thank you again. Like I said, you're such an inspiration. We appreciate your time and everything you're doing.
Thank you so much for the interview. I love Black Enterprise. I've been reading it since I was a kid. It's a subscription my mom used to always have at our front doorstep. So it's such an honor to be on your platform.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Take
Thank
care.
you. Thank you. Have a good day, babe.